Hey guys, welcome back to Cards and Comics. And today I got a special video. Today I went to my first card show in over a year, and it was in Albany. And I'll give you an update, and I'll show you what I picked up, give you a little hint or kind of the temperature of the hobby, and just give you an update and kind of how I think the hobby is going. Because I think card shows are a good, way to kind of judge, how the hobby's trending. And there were some interesting things I found at the show. So first, I'm going to start out with I got a new setup here. So I'm in my card room now. I'm actually got my little, display here. I'm actually a little bit easier to not be disturbed quite as much. With the fam, I mean, it's hard to do this kind of stuff in a community space. So this is my own little area, and so hopefully I'll be able to do more videos now that I've got kind of my own space to do it. So first of all, I had to wait 45 minutes to get in the show, and you're hearing that from a lot of folks now. Attending shows is that a lot of long lines, and obviously with New York still being in COVID, not lockdown, but with COVID restrictions, you can't fill out the spaces like you could before. Now I'm fully vaccinated, so I wasn't too worried, but it was a little tight. I will say that, and I'd say that, yeah, it's definitely if you're germaphobe, it would not be probably a good place for you to go because it's still a little tight. Secondly, as I waited in the line, I got to talk to a lot of dealers or not dealers, but collectors, and the hobby's going strong. The concerns I have are the concerns by other hobbyists. This PSA slowdown and what it means for modern card pricing. How are lower end and cheaper cards going to get graded? The answer is probably very very little of it's going to get graded. And just the fact that as the hobby's getting more expensive, is it are people are we losing more people than gaining? So that's was a kind of a question, and some good discussion there. I'll start with my assumptions. I thought the show would have, like what I call like impressive inventory because everyone had been selling on eBay and pocketing the cash and getting better inventory, and really everyone had kind of upped their game from what I remember the show in 18 and 19 and part of 20. I didn't go that often in 20, but or at all in 20. So in 18 and 19, like what I remember the show. And then I get to the show and it's like almost the same exact dealer lineup with the same exact inventory as it was in 2018 and 2019. A lot of cards and 4-screw holders, vintage ungraded, mid-level, modern. And there was some big cards at the show. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but like I found there was a guy with the 89 upper deck Griffey PSA 10 for $5,000, which is a really really high amount. And it's his card, his price, but it's just not a price that you're going to see a lot of people jump on. So it's just the good stuff is priced really high, and I'll get into pricing and a little bit, the video and how I feel about it, and inventory was just not there, and talking to other dealers and talking to collectors at the show, it just dawned on me that with cards being so liquid, dealers aren't waiting for shows to unload their inventory. They're just, it goes on eBay as soon as it can for the most part, and they're getting the best prices there. And until maybe the new tax laws hit, you're not going to see a big change in how people operate. Basically, not just flipping everything on eBay as soon as they get new inventory. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the show was kind of disappointing from an inventory and selection. But one thing that was very I was also assuming too, because I made a big box of cards to take with me, and I'll show you this. And I always do this because I've set up at shows hundreds of times. I know sort of what they're looking for and kind of just what's popular, and I try to bring it. I brought this big box of mostly graded and some raw inventory, and I had 2 dealers total asked to see my cards, 2, and that seems really low if in this environment where cards are so hot and these guys supposedly need inventory that dealers really, were not interested in buying. It was not what I would consider to be a hot show for buying from dealers. And I actually sold just as much to collectors walking around who just saw my cards and said, "Hey, you got some really cool cards. Can I look at them?" Than I did from dealers who were, set up in, you know, and that's just it. And obviously being a dealer in the past and knowing the dealers, personally, I did have some ask why I wasn't set up, and the honest answer is I just don't have time. I may set up at the Syracuse show coming up in May, but right now I just don't have time to properly price everything out and look everything up, sort everything, and have it all organized. It takes a lot of time, and to do it right, you don't want to be at a show and be completely disorganized because it's just a bad feeling and it's a bad look, and people just won't appreciate you having to look everything up on your phone and not knowing your own prices and not knowing your own inventory. It's just not how I want to go. So, I'll show you what's in my box that I brought to the show. I mean, just to, show you, like, I did bring good cards. I mean, I wasn't trying to, sell my crap. These are all either doubles of either I had the same grade or a higher grade. So, a 66 Banks, 69 Gibson. Here's a 66 Clemente. It's a 7. I brought cards like, a Jeter rookie with me. They weren't interested in that card. I had like a Mookie Betts, gold, PSA 9. I had some modern football, and I had, I thought some of the hotter players, some of it graded, a lot of it not graded, but I had, this area. I thought, Daniel Jones is sort of hot. Murray, that's a flawless base rookie. That's numbered to 7. That's pretty tough. Mahomes auto, a Kyler Murray. I did sell one Mahomes auto at the show to a collector just walking around. But treasures, there's some good color, Prism, color optic, Josh Allen. There's a field level Josh Allen. So, those cards weren't, people just weren't interested in them. And in fact, if I was, when I was actually doing some deals, if the car got over $200, in general, the dealers weren't interested anymore at cards over $200. I sold a few, but not a lot over $300 or $200, and it just seemed like they were just not really that interested in buying. That I had one dealer tell me the only cards he had sold that day were Pokemon cards. So I do think inventory at the show was a problem. I would just say that in general. Met some guys from Syracuse, and they had the same thing, and they brought up the idea that the hobby is changing. You're seeing kind of a newer generation of collectors coming in that understand the market a little bit better and what people want, and you're seeing this older generation of, I call it kind of like I've retired and I do this as kind of a thing for fun, and I'm not gonna. It's not something. It's not really a job. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm a dealer and I sell the cards I have, and I'm not gonna go out and hustle to get a huge inventory because it's like work. And the younger guys are really, in my opinion, some of these guys really do hustle. I mean, you can, I don't like the people who go to Targets just because, the flippers who go there and get product, and there were some of those guys there too, selling retail, the products that they had scalped at Target. But I don't really hate them, in the sense that I begrudge them money. I just think that, it sucks that you can't just go and buy retail products because people clear the shelves. And it's just like this idea that, it's first come, first come gets it all in some cases. I know they've tried limits and all that stuff, but it just seems like it's weird, not to be able to go out and buy a pack of cards of any value anymore, without putting a lot of effort into it. You had to put a lot of effort into it to get it, which is odd, and that's how it's changed. But those guys are coming in as dealers, and they just have a different mentality. And again, it's not good or bad. It's going to be both. It's going to be good and bad because we're going to see, this hustle mentality, taken to some extreme levels, and it may not be fun, And I think I did hear a lot of guys say that the hobby wasn't as fun as it used to be because of all the money. Because money makes people do kind of silly things. A lot of comments about having their packages stolen, having people return fake cards in them in the mail, and just all the things that you hear about. But this is these are hobbyists. Most of the people I talk to are just collectors, or they do collecting and investing and selling both. And it's like, man, like it sucks to lose out on a $300 or $400 or even $3,000 or $4,000 because someone is a thief or someone is just being, a jerk on eBay on a return, because a card went down. And so, it's the common experience around that room was, in some cases it's not as fun anymore. But there was a lot of people and a lot of energy around, these, newer cards and modern and basketball was very popular. But the thing that was crazy was if there was a Daniel Jones card or a Josh Allen card in that show, it was sold. And I brought inventory of that, and nobody really wanted it, which is surprising. But for the most part, the people walking around that show wanted those cards, and just an example of not having the inventory that your buyers want and they're not actively seeking that inventory. So I think that's going to be something. When I go to the Syracuse show, the guys from Syracuse are telling me like, okay, your graded and your vintage and your newer cards that you're bringing are exactly what that show wants and is asking for. And he's like, telling me like, okay, you're going to do really well there. And I agree with that. I think I'd have done well at this show if I set up because again, I think the people walking around the room that I was talking to were wanting cards like I had, and they were disappointed that not as many dealers had those cards in that show. And again, they could have been there early and just been purchased, but usually, you'll see a lot of inventory. And what I saw there was a lot of the cards have gone down, and people are trying to sell them. Because things are going down a little bit in some areas and up in some areas, but yeah, a lot of the cards that were sitting around were, and if players like Tatis, right, who for whatever reason is kind of flat-ish going down, and the hot players like maybe Acuna right now, or you know, I'm thinking like in basketball, Lucas kind of cooled off a little bit for really no reason, but it's like people are kind of those cards are now on people's tables when 2 or 3 months ago you couldn't find them. So it's interesting how the only cards on the tables were cards that are harder to sell. Now I'll go over condition. I did try to buy a few cards and that were raw. And in general, what I've noticed is that if, in three of the cases where I was looking at a raw card, it was modern. They had condition issues, and so grading's not going to be difficult, but man, you're gonna have to watch your cards when you're buying them at a show like this. These guys are smart. They're selling you a card, like a Luca Prism I was looking at. And the guy, he said, like, yeah, it has an issue. And I said, no, I'm not interested. He's like, yeah, I'll work with you. I see that little issue. But, they're out there on the table. You're just going to have to be careful, guys. I really, right now with grading not out there, I think these guys are, if they're really into grading and they're going to be holding those cards back, waiting for grading to open up. If it's on their table, they probably don't think it's going to grade high. And that's just why it's out there. Just be careful with that. If that raw card's on their table and it looks really like at a good price, like hey, that's a good price, that's a cool card. There's probably something wrong with it. It's just, words of advice, just be careful. And then pricing, pricing was crazy. I would say pricing was the worst, in some cases I've seen in a while where I understand pricing. And this is how I would price cards at a show like this. If I was set up, I would price things either between 85 and 90% of eBay, or if it's a really hot card, 100% of eBay. But I would come down to that 80, 85% because I know with fees and taxes and everything else, I would be, losing that 20% no matter what on eBay. And if I can get 85, 90% at a show, um, it's so much worth it to sell it there versus taking that card back home. So that's not how the pricing went at the show for the most part. The cards I did get were priced reasonably. They were priced within the range that's on eBay. But other cards I looked at were priced, in some cases, 50% higher than eBay. And so it's just showing me they didn't really want to sell those cards. I looked at a PSA 10 Upper Deck Griffey, and it was priced at 5,000. And the guy's like, yeah, firm. You know, and so cards like that. So again, I think the pricing was not good. There were some deals. Obviously, there's always some deals at a show like that. But I just think that the dealers themselves had not really figured out this idea that it's better to sell under eBay by a little bit and make more money than selling on eBay and losing that percentage they're losing now. So that was the card show. Obviously, it was good to get out again. I'm really appreciate that. I'm running some cool people. I ran to a guy doing custom holders, so you'll be seeing hopefully some custom cards and comics holders, and I'll be doing a giveaway for folks if they want holders. I'll be sharing that link, in the video when I get those in, and hopefully, yeah, and I'll put a link in this video as well. He did some cool stuff. What I picked up. So I picked up some really odd stuff for me. So one of the deals, I got 2 packs, and the first pack is, it's a retail 2017 Prism. So there's 3 packs. It's got 4 packs because the fourth pack is the red, white, and blue bonus pack. A 2017 Prism, which is obviously my home. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this pack because I obviously would like to get. I do have packs I grade. Or collect graded. I'm inclined to open it because I just feel like it'd be fun. I opened a lot of this and had some home rookies at one point, and I've kind of sold them and didn't care much about them in 17. Um, but it would be fun to kind of revisit that, and it was a part of a deal. So the other pack is a real interesting pack. It's a 13 Prism pack, with the Giannis rookie in it. And it's a hobby pack. You can see right on top. And I'm not inclined to open that pack. I'm more inclined to just get that graded and put it in my collection because it was it's a cool pack, and I think it's going to continue to go up, and it's pretty rare. I think you see them, but this is a pretty rare pack. This pack you see more often, I think. So those two were part of the deal, and then first card up was a Griffey card, which I was super shocked this was there. And this is why I go to shows like this, because as much as I complain about the inventory, and believe me, guys, I love going to shows again. So don't feel like I'm being overly negative. It's just, in general, the show's inventory was definitely underwhelming. But I found this card, and this was why you go to shows. I mean, I don't have this refractor for my set, for my Griffey collection. And this is a really cool Griffey refractor. It was graded a 9. I got it for, I paid, exactly what it's worth at the high end. But I was glad to because, these cards are starting to go up, and this is a beautiful card. And I love these early refractors. And the last card, again, I paid a little bit on the high side for what this card has been selling, but it's a really nice example. So it's a PSA 1 Lou Gehrig. And, it looks like a 4 on the front. It's got really nice registration of Gehrig. Like, the color is good. It's not dripping wet color gloss, but it's definitely doesn't have marks, erasers, creases throughout the card. The issue with the card, if anyone who's collected vintage will probably know this, it was pasted in a book, and obviously it's got paper loss on the back. So to me, these are my favorite PSA ones. So I buy PSA ones to buy because the ones that have good fronts with bad backs, I mean, in all honesty, when cards are this expensive and this rare, having the front look good is much more important than the back missing some paper. I love this card, so it's just cool to have it. It goes right next to my Babe Ruth. So there you have it. That's my card show story and my pickups, and I think I had fun. I sold some cards, I bought some cards, and that's exactly what you need to do at a card show. I'm just hoping that as our hobby evolves a little bit in the future, we'll start seeing this, newer dealers, newer inventory, and this kind of evolution. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping to set up at a show pretty soon, and hope to see you there if you're in the area. And I'll see you next time. Bye.